Hello. Hello. I'm audible to you. Hello.
Yes, Sonia ma'am, you are audible. Hello. You are audible, ma'am. Hello.
I'm audible to you.
You are Sonia ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you, sir. On this beautiful day, I, Dr. Sonia Bhatt, is pleased to welcome all the participants to an informative.
दो है मेरा सर को बोलूं क्या उनको लॉगिन मिला है फोन करूं इसको भगाओ
A wholehearted good afternoon to each one of you present over here. I'm bound to express my utmost feeling of lightness. Hello. I request to all, please mute your audios and turn off your. I request to all, please turn off your cameras.
सर प्लीज आ जाइए सर प्लीज लिंक नहीं भेजे आप लोग एक मिनट
I guess few internet interruptions are there so that we are not able to communicate. So please have patience with us. All the participants, this is requested and this is the required gesture. You need to turn off your cameras and mute yourself. Mr. Arvind Singh, sir, please turn off your cameras. You need to turn off your audios and cameras for efficient executions. Second, you will have a chance to have an interactive session with our prestigious speaker, Dr. Hiram Ting, sir. For that, you need to type a question in the chat box only. Third one is the most, I got the queries related to e-certificate. Yes, you will get the e-certificate for this web lecture, and for that you need to fill a feedback form, which you will get the link of that during the session. So please have patience and connect with us.
आ गए ठीक है अनम्यूट
Go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Sonia, please start. The VC sir has joined us.
तो ये कितना हाथ कितना तुम्हारा टोटल 1852 स्क्वायर फीट था तो अप्रॉक्स 4 लाख से करीब उसमें
इन्हें यार क्या यहाँ कर रहे हो? सोनिया का कनेक्ट ही नहीं
यार इसको हम यदि बोर्ड से वही जो बनाए तो कितना लगेगा प्लाई बोर्ड थोड़ा अच्छा तो रहेगा वो और उसके बाद आवाज नहीं जाएगी सब आवाज बगल वाले में इंटरव्यू लेंगे तो आवाज जाएगी उसका सुनने के इसमें वाले ना ये पार्टीशन यहाँ पर हमें ये प्लाई से कर दिया तो सुंदर से ग्रीनरी बढ़िया से उस पर थोड़ा कपड़े लगे हुए लगे है ना थोड़ा सा और भी फैंसी हो जाता है खाली ऐसे नॉर्मल प्लाई नहीं इसके ऊपर तो लगा देते हैं कपड़े उपड़े भी लगा देते हैं कर देते हैं जिससे और अच्छा लगता है वो पेंट कर देते हैं पता नहीं चलता है प्लाई है ये क्या है पेंट पॉलिश
Dr. Sonia, am I
Yes,
on?
sir. It will start shortly, sir. Within 2 minutes, it will start, sir.
Hello, I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, you are audible. Start quickly.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. A wholehearted good afternoon to each one of you present over here. I'm bound to express my utmost feeling of lightness, and we are so fortunate today to have a profound and eminent personality from education industry, Dr. Hiram Ting, sir, with us. I would like to welcome on the behalf of Madan Mohan Malaviya University to all the participants, faculties, and our prestigious guests. I, Dr. Sonia Bhatt, lecturer of Department of Humanities and Management Science of this prestigious university, Madan Mohan Malaviya University of Technology, would be accompanying you as a moderator for this session. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir Professor Srinivasing, sir, is gracing the event with his pious presence. I would like to have the privilege to request our sir to please share your kind words to us. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Good morning, and this is all the viewers and the listeners. This electricity has gone, so just I think we can wait for 2 minutes. This my UPS will come. But anyway, I'm on the mobile, so my voice will be going, I believe. So,
Yes, sir. Audible. Perfectly audible.
okay. Thank you. So I think the light in your place also has gone. It is there?
Yes, it's gone, sir, but you are audible, sir.
Okay. So this topic, no doubt, we are keep on talking about how to do the research and what should be the methodology and other things. This is a very relevant topic, but as you all know, that the research is very difficult to basically translate in the words. Each individual will have its own way to do the research, its own way to move further, but it is a very, very useful for the beginners, those are landing in this area, or those have moved certain ahead in this direction, to get the experience of other people so that he can easily, whatever hurdles the other people have faced, that they should not face. And that's why we are organizing many, many topics related to the research methodologies, and also how to publish the paper, how to write the paper, how to express our idea, how to search the topics. Many, many things are basically, those are in these areas there, and they are sharing. And I'm sure this Dr. Ting, he is basically one of the renowned, as you know, he is a master of the Emerald Publishing House. And, you know, I'm also, even though guest edit, specialized editor for the electrical engineering, this one of the Emerald Journal as well, which is published from the UK. So this is basically a very nice, and let us hear him, because this topic is very relevant. I can see more than 300 people have joined on this online platform in this COVID-19, which is now forcing us to go on online. And in this online itself, it is very good. Otherwise, it was not possible to listen, Dr. Ting. Now it is possible that we are sitting in the office and we are utilizing our time in a very effective manner. So I really thank my and picking the people from all the corners, keep on doing the research webinars and other things. That is very, very relevant to my own faculty members and others. Those have joined from far, and I can see the people from all across the India and other countries have joined, and that is a very, very relevant for them. So I wish you all the best, and I thank Dr. Hiram Ting for joining and sparing his valuable time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your compassionate words. It will be a great escalation to our knowledge. I would like to present a profound, eminent personality of education industry, Dr. Hiram Ting, sir. Each over to you. Dr. Hiram Ting, sir, is an associate professor in the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism Management, UCSI, University of Malaysia. He holds a PhD in marketing from University of Malaysia, Sarawak, Malaysia. He is the Vice President of Marketing in Asia Group and the Chairman of the Sarawak Research Society, a scholarly NGO established to nurture rising researchers and provide platform for networking and collaborations between academics and practitioners. Being the managing editor of the Asian Journal of Business Research, as well as an advisory board and editorial board member of a number of international journals, such as Journal of Global Marketing and British Food Journal, he has been actively involved in multidisciplinary behavioral research and consultancy projects covering topics and issues related to generation marketing, consumer behavior, tourism, healthcare service, gastronomy, and management. His papers are published in index journals including Internet Research, European Journal of Marketing, Tourism Management, International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management, Tourism Economics, Marketing Intelligence and Planning, Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services, Journal of Strategic Marketing, and Social Indicator Research. He has served and even serving as a guest editor of several journals, including British Food Journal, International Journal of Manpower, Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Research, Journal of Consumer Behavior, International Journal of Culture, Tourism and Hospitality. He has won Best Paper Award 7 times, a Young Service Researcher Award in 2014,
and an Emerald Literary Award in 2018. He is the first and currently only Emerald Ambassador in East Asia, covering countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Japan, Korea, Brunei, and the Philippines. He is also attached to other institutions as an adjunct professor or scientific committee member, such as Griffith University in Australia, Research Synergy Foundation in Indonesia, and Ming Chow University in Taiwan. We are so blessed to have you on this platform, sir. Sir, is now over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Namaskar, sir.
The first word I want to say is namaskar.
Namaskar from India, sir.
Namaskar from Malaysia
Namaste,
to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, to Dr. Sonia, her colleagues at the university, and also all the participants, even though I can't see you in a personal way. The pandemic, in a way that makes this online lecture possible. Even though we hope the pandemic will go away soon, we just have to utilize whatever opportunity that is presented to us to network. And hopefully for the next hour, I'll be able to share something of value to all of you. I don't regard this as a web lecture. We only have 1 hour. So I will try to share with you what I learned. And again, hopefully my sharing will be of value to all of you. Okay, again, my privilege to be here this morning. Let me share the slides, I believe. Okay, it is disabled. So can the host allow me to share the slides? Thank you.
Yeah. Vinisa, please allow the sir to share the slides. So just wait for a while.
Wait, sir. Within 1 minute, I am.
No worries, no worries. Okay.
Now the function is, I have enabled the function. You can share, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, it's
Okay.
visible now.
All right. I have my clock here because I'm very bad at managing my time. So I understand that this is an hour web lecture. Again, I will make it a sharing session. It will be impossible for me to cover everything. Fundamentals of research topic, as the Honorable Vice Chancellor mentioned earlier, this is a huge topic, and this is applicable in various disciplines, various fields, and there are situations where we cannot generalize research methods. But again, for the next hour, I hope my sharing will inspire you to learn, and for those who have learned, hopefully you will learn more. So I'm here to learn together with you, because you can never graduate from learning research methods. Later on, you will see why research methods require our continual learning. It requires our continual learning. Now, very quickly, my acknowledgement, my appreciation, my gratitude to Madan, Mohan, Malaviya University. Before Dr. Sonia approached me, forgive me, I've never heard of this university. My university is also new to you, but at least today, MUT is within me. So we'll see if there is any opportunity in the future to visit India, to visit the university. So again, my gratitude for arranging this, making it possible for me to meet all of you online. Very quickly, as Dr. Sonia has introduced, I'm basically an ordinary person with multiple roles, and I'm always curious about so many things. And that curiosity basically makes me wanting to learn more. If we consider what is the origin of research, if we consider what is the origin of research, I might boldly say the origin of research is curiosity. When we were young, we were curious about so many things: how birds fly, you know, how am I, you know, why am I here? But as we grow up, we become less and less curious because there are so many systems, structured systems, and as a result, we might slowly lose our curiosity, our innovation. Maybe this is not the case in India, but in Malaysia, in general, you know, as we grow up, we become less and less curious. Now, when we talk about research, you know, whenever you are curious, you want to research, you want to search for more, you want to understand the truth, you want to understand the reality. And as a result, it requires us to be innovative. It requires us to be creative. And many times, it requires us to think outside the box. Now, when we do research, sometimes we ask why, and in some cases, we have to ask why not. So when we talk about research methodology, later on you will see why it is a continual learning process. Yes, we have textbooks to rely on. Even my sharing today, what I share with you today might be correct for the next 3 months. It might be incorrect for after 3 months, because research methods can be likened to information technology, where things will improve, things will advance. Again, I will explain all this later briefly. And also, I'm passionate enough to do things in order to make a positive impact on the community. Now, being an academic myself, like what the Honorable Vice Chancellor mentioned earlier, we are very, you know, we emphasize a lot on research excellence. And one of the things that shows our research output is our publication. And as you all know, when we published, we want to publish our papers in Scopus Index, in SSCI Index journals. We want the impact factor to be high because all these will affect our tenure, our promotion. Nothing wrong with all this. What I'm trying to say is, at the same time, we also have to consider whether our research, our publication, make a real impact on the community. This is the very reason why I'm currently working with Emerald Publishing in East Asia, because our research work is not only for knowledge. Eventually, or at the same time, it has to be translated into something practical in order to have a positive impact on the industry, on the community. So I hope by telling you all this, you can understand why there is so much to do. There is so much to do. There are so many things that require answers. There are so many things out there require better answers. And we in academia, apart from teaching, apart from administrative works, we have a key role to play to bridge the gap, to reduce the gap between knowledge and industry, so that we can be of relevance to the real world today. Okay, I will skip the rest. So let's move on to the next slide. Now, before I begin with the sharing, with me today, I bring a few of my colleagues. Very quickly, Assistant Professor Dr. Jason Cham. He is an Assistant Professor at Utah University. Assistant Professor Dr. Leong, she is my colleague at UCSI University. Dr. Bibiana, she is from Swinburne University. Sorry, my typo there. She is from Swinburne University. And Mr. Chang Yongwai, my colleague, my assistant, and he has been helping me a lot with many research activities. So I just want to say, at the outset, thank you for being here with me in India, Albert, in the digital way. All right. So now, as I said, this will be a sharing session. I will not be able to cover all the details about research methodology, but at the end of the web lecture today, if my sharing inspires one of you to learn research, to do more in research, I will consider my web lecture a success for myself, and I will go to a cafe, get myself a coffee to celebrate. But anyway, I will try my best. Now, I'm not really sure your background. Some of you could be students, some of you could be lecturers, you could be in marketing field, in management, in engineering, in information technology. Now, whatever, regardless of your backgrounds, research methodology is still relevant. It is still important. Today, when I talk about research methodology, I will talk more about research methodology in terms of from the social science perspective. Social science perspective. Now, it doesn't mean it is irrelevant to science. A few years ago, I had one MBA student. He was and he is actually the CEO of the biggest information technology company in Sarawak. He is a PhD holder in engineering. Okay, so I asked him, why are you here taking MBA subject? Okay, what he told me is interesting. He already has a PhD in engineering, and he is a CEO in information technology company. Now the reason is because he wants to take MBA subject in order to learn management, in order to learn marketing. Why? Because as a CEO, he needs to learn how to manage his employees. He needs to know how to promote his products. He doesn't want to be a CEO sitting in the office doing nothing. He wants to be of relevance to his employees. And one thing he told me, in his company, there is a diagram, a triangle-like diagram. The first component is called hardware. Okay. The second component is called methodology, and the third component is called human behavior. Okay. For his company, they need to deal with these three components at the same time. And you know what did he tell me? His company has all the expertise to come up with the hardware, the software. His company has all the technical know-how, how to process, all the methodology regarding information system. He told me the most difficult component is human behavior. They can manage their hardware. They can make sure the process is, seamless. Any possible problems, they can explain, they can manage, they can take corrective actions, they can still do it. But the most difficult component when running the company, when managing the customer, is human behavior. Now, by saying this, I hope, again, my sharing in the next hour, you will find it relevant. Even though it is about social science, even though it is about behavior, it is important to learn research methodology in this way in order to do our research better. Okay. Of course, if you are doing a research in a lab, you are not dealing with any human being. Maybe this sharing might not be that useful to you. But anyway, anyhow, I believe we are living in a world where so many things are connected. Even though we are a scientist, even though we are engineers, even though we are medical doctors, we cannot run away from understanding human behavior. Okay, so I hope that explains why this sharing might be useful to all of you, regardless of your qualification and your research endeavors. Now, these are some of the quotes I like. Do what is right, not what is easy. We like to take shortcuts sometimes. Now, some shortcuts are, I call it legitimate, because it helps you to, avoid redundant works. But we have to be careful, because some shortcuts, if we do them, we are doing them at the expense of learning. If that is the case, then we have to be cautious, because when we do research, it is not like an assignment. It is not like an exam where we can do things the night before. Some of my students, they cannot study early. They have to study the night before. And sometimes miracle happens. They can study the night before, they can do really well for the exam. But let me tell you, believe me or not, I don't think miracle happens to research, because if you do things the night before, I don't think it is valid. It may appear to be, presentable, but it may not be effective. Definitely, it will not be something sustainable. So again, we have to do the right thing, because we want to learn as much as possible. And is, whatever I'm going to share with you later, I can tell you honestly, most of the things I am going to share with you are actually from my failures, are actually from my mistakes. Okay, I don't have so many success stories to tell you. You may think that I have a lot of success stories. Actually, I have more failure stories. But these failures all turn to be precious lessons. And that's how we become useful to the academic society, to help different people in different situations to get unstuck, to make progress in their respective research. Another quote, preparation. If you don't invest time to prepare, you will waste time to repair. I don't think I need to say too much. I think, again, at the outset, these are the things I hope to impress all of you. It is a journey. It is a process. It is not like an assignment. It is not like an exam. It is more like a storybook. It is more like a storybook, how you write your story. And if it is a storybook, continuity is important. Consistency is important. Flow is important. I may read a lot today, but if I stop reading for the next few days, and when I pick up the book again and I start reading, I will feel I have to start from zero again. Why? Because continuity, flow is interrupted. You don't have to do, a lot, but it is something that you have to do consistently. Continuity is important. Process is important. One day you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. For those who are doing your master's and PhD, you will be there, all right? And of course, I tell many of my colleagues, many of my juniors, even if you finish your master's and PhD, it is only the beginning of your journey. I'm still in the journey, and that's why I'm here, eager to learn from all of you. Even though I do the talking, after my sharing, I will always reflect, how can I how can I improve next time? It's a learning process, and I hope I did enough at the beginning to impress what is the foundation of research methodology. Okay, now we are not going to cover all this, but I just want to say one thing, and that is when you consider your research methodology, you cannot consider this matter in isolation. You cannot do that. You still have to go back to the very beginning. What is your research problem? What are your research questions? What are your research objectives? Okay, so today we will only talk about research methodology, but just one word. When you want to come up with a good research design, when you want to come up with a good research methodology, you have to consider again, what is your research problem? What are your research questions? All these have to be in line. All these have to be in line. You cannot develop your research methods in isolation. Okay, so for those who just started, make sure you spend enough time considering what are the research issues that you want to investigate, what are your research problems, what are your research questions. You have to read the literature in order to be able to justify what are the gaps in the literature, and that will help you to formulate your research problem, your research questions. Once you have all this, it will facilitate your research design, and that would include your research methodology. Okay, now there is a saying, I'm not sure how it is, I'm not sure how it is properly quoted, but it goes something like this. When a person feeds fish in the aquarium, in the fish tank, they are actually not feeding the fish. They are actually feeding the water. Okay, if you want your fish to live well, yes, you feed the fish, but actually what you do is you have to feed the water. In other words, you have to take care of the water. Okay, similarly, if you want to grow a plant, yes, you water the plant, but in fact, you are actually taking good care of the soil, not the plant. When the water is in good condition, all the fishes will be healthy. When the soil is in good condition, plants will grow naturally. You don't have to force the tree to grow. It will grow. The seed will sprout, and it will grow healthily. The reason why I say this is because, yes, we have to decide. We have to make a lot of decisions about our instrument, our population, our sampling. There are so many things we have to get it right, all these decisions. But don't lose sight, okay? We have to be careful that we don't lose sight. While we are so concerned about what method to use, what analytical tool to use, what is the sample size, should I use interview, should I use focus group? While we are concerned about all this, okay, let us not forget the bigger picture. Let us not forget the bigger picture. What is actually your research about? What is actually the issue of your research? Okay, maybe online survey is the best instrument, but it may not be the most appropriate instrument in your case. Maybe quantitative approach is more feasible. However, it may not be the most appropriate approach in dealing with your research problem. Maybe a software called SPSS is it's the only software I know how to use. It's the only software my lecturer knows. But as a scholar, you have to learn more. Maybe it is the best, yet it is not the most appropriate tool in your case. So what I'm saying is, while you have a lot of decisions to make, and sometimes students are so anxious about all these decisions. They want to know the answers. Can you tell me what are the answers? Can you tell me what should I do? Don't forget the bigger picture. Because if you forget the bigger picture, for example, you always, try to feed the fish. You try to if you overfeed the fish will not survive. The fish will die. Okay, so take care of the bigger picture, the water, the soil, and all this, I believe, will help you to become a better informed scholar. And you don't take shortcut. You invest your time and you read. You consult your supervisors whenever necessary. Eventually, you make the most appropriate decision to carry out your research methodology. Now, let me say this again. When we talk about human behavior, I think all of you agree with me. Human behavior is very, very complicated. Okay, very, very complicated. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe our fathers, our grandparents, they were relatively simple, okay? So it's easier to explain, it's easier to predict their behavior. But we today are living in a world, we are exposed to so much information, digital technology, the pandemic crisis at the moment. I'm not sure in India, but in Malaysia, despite the crisis, still there are people who like to spread fake news to make the situation worse. Human society is becoming more and more complicated. Why? Because human behavior is so complex. Now, in light of this situation, can you imagine that research methodology today requires more rigorous process, Why? Because so many things can go wrong easily. Okay, so let me proceed, okay, and you will see why. All right. Now, this is an editorial from a very top journal, okay, a very top journal, JIBS. What did the editors say? We recognize, of course, that standards for rigor in empirical work are continually rising. What were acceptable methodological practices even 5 years ago can easily and rapidly become unacceptable today. Okay? What were acceptable 5 years ago? How I defended my thesis, how you completed your PhD, what we did correctly 3 years ago, 5 years ago, might not be relevant today. It doesn't mean our PhD is invalid. 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we only knew so much and we did enough. We did enough to graduate. But as a scholars, you have to move on. On one hand, you can refer to previous works. On the other hand, you cannot rely too much on your seniors' works. Why? Because things have progressed. Things have progressed. All right. So this is one statement. Another statement. Okay. If you just look at the sentences in red and okay, now it turns into yellow. Dear participant, appreciate if you don't do that. All right. Thank you. So if you look at the paragraph, somewhere in the middle, the software application that we all have on our desktops have massively improved. And also somewhere in the middle, it behooves us to stay on top of current methodological developments. And next one, it is no exaggeration to say that new methodological developments come out every month, okay? I hope these two editorials impress all of you. This is what I said earlier. We have to keep learning. It is a continual learning process. I don't dare to say today that I have learned enough. If I say this, I will be the most foolish person in this on this platform. There are so many things we have to continue learn, especially supervisors, examiners, including myself. What we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago might be correct, but we have to always keep ourselves abreast with methodological advancement. Why? Because as human behaviors have become more and more complex, as our society has become more and more dynamic, so are all the methodology, methods, statistical tools, all these have been improved, and they are continually being improved in order to provide more accurate estimation, in order to reduce bias, to explain, to predict behaviors, okay? And that is why we have to continue learn today, all right? Let me move on to the next slide. If the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail, okay? You see every problem as a nail, okay? Some problems are not nails. Some problems are actually opportunities for us to explore something new, to do a better research, to extend knowledge, to enhance the originality, the novelty of our research, okay? So not everything, we must use one way, this way or that way. There are multiple ways to do things. Again, it's all about our learning. It's all about our willingness to adapt, to adopt different methods, as a scholars, in order to carry out the research in a rigorous manner, in order to make informed decision at the end. Okay, let me proceed. This is a paper my colleagues and I wrote some years ago. Okay, again, this is about methodological misconceptions and guidelines. And we wrote this paper in accordance to the situations in Malaysia, not India, Malaysia. Okay, I don't dare to write anything about India. I don't know Indian context well enough. But in Malaysia, there are many things which have been taught, which have been practiced incorrectly. One of the reasons is because many students, they read articles selectively. They only read what they like. They only want to understand. They only want to adopt things according to what is easy, according to what they like or what they find easy. All right. So this is an article. This is a paper we wrote in order to debunk all this teaching and provide guidelines based on recent methodological articles. When I say recent methodological articles, I'm referring to articles published in top journals in the fields of methods, social science, and behavior. All right. Feel free to download if you wish to have a read. Now, this is a diagram. We call it research. We call it onion. And this onion would require one day, one workshop to slowly peel them off. So you can imagine I can only spend 1 minute explaining what this onion is about. But like I said, this is a sharing. you have all the resources online, okay? So you can go to Google, you can search online what this onion is about. What I want to say here in the next few seconds is, it is a process. You don't skip certain things because you want to do it fast. Remember what I said earlier. If you don't invest your time to prepare, you will eventually, waste your time to repair, okay? Research is a scientific process. It is not something that you can do using your gut feeling, using your past experience. Yes, your gut feeling is important. Yes, your past experience is important. Still, you cannot compromise the rigor of research. Research methodology is a process. It is a scientific process where you have to do things in a rigorous manner. When you do things in a rigorous manner, you would be able to convince the readers what are the things you do, how you come about with your results, your discussions, what are the limitations. Your study becomes a scholarly work for future researchers to refer to build upon. Okay, and therefore it is a process that we have to religiously follow. Okay, so if you look at the onion, the outermost layer is philosophical assumption, and the innermost layer is your data analysis. All right, so here we go. When we talk about research methodology, the first thing first, you have to look into your research paradigm. What is your research approach? Okay, again, I can only share with you something briefly. If you remember earlier, I said research methodology cannot be separated from your research problem, your research questions. Why? Because the way you formulate your research problem has everything to do with your research paradigm. In a simpler words, in a simple word, how do you see the world? How do you see the world? How do you see the phenomenon you want to investigate? Okay, so this is the reason why the philosophical stance that you choose will determine your research approach. Okay, now very, very quickly, you may believe that this phenomena has a single reality, or you may see this phenomena as multiple realities. Okay, the way you view the phenomena will determine whether you should use quantitative approach or qualitative approach. Okay, now again, I can only share with you my experience in order to hopefully make my points clear. Whenever my master's and PhD students, or even my undergraduate students, whenever they come to me, sir, this is the topic I want to do. What do you think? Can I do it? Is this a good topic? Now, in general, I will not tell them the answer. In fact, I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. I don't know the answer. Normally, I will tell them, why not you go back, think about your topic for another 1 week, for another 2 weeks, okay? Think about your topic. Talk to some people about your topic. Read something about your topic. Use some observation. Why? Because when a person begins to consider their topic by reading more, by talking to researchers, by talking to practitioners. Practitioners are very important, by the way. Talk to them. 1 week, 2 weeks, you will have the answer. You will see your topic in different ways. Last week, you saw it this way. This week, why not that way? Okay? And because of this process, you begin to understand the phenomena better. And from there, you would be able to decide how you see, how you view the phenomena, and of course, based on your what is it? Your view, in philosophy, we talk about ontology, epistemology, and methodology. But let's put all these words aside first. How you view, and then how you acquire the information, how you want to acquire the information. Okay, and how you view the world, how you acquire information will determine the methods that you use to collect the data and to analyze the data. Okay, again, I cannot say too much. In brief, there are three approaches. Number one, quantitative approach. Number two, qualitative approach. Number three, mixed method approach. So if you take a positivist stance, okay, where you believe, okay, this phenomena has a single reality, okay, and that suggests a quantitative approach will be more appropriate. However, if you believe there are multiple realities, even though I read, even though I find answers in my reading, I believe there are more to it. Okay? If you believe there are multiple realities, then perhaps a qualitative approach is more appropriate in your study. But in a situation where a quantitative approach and a qualitative approach in isolation cannot give you a meaningful answer, a meaningful result, this is the situation where a pragmatist, realist, okay, paradigm using mixed methods approach may be more appropriate. Okay, so again, I don't have the answer. Which one is better? I don't have the answer, because it all depends on your research problem, the nature of your research problem. Okay, so I've written some papers using positivist paradigm, quantitative approach. I've also written some papers using interpretivist or social constructivist paradigm, using a qualitative approach. And I've also written some papers using the mixed method approach. Again, like I said, don't be fixated to arguing which approach is superior. The answer is none, because which one is more appropriate? Again, it depends on the nature of your research problem. How do you see the phenomenon you want to investigate? Okay, because your view, the way you acquire knowledge, the way you make sense of knowledge of reality would determine your research paradigm and also your research approach. I hope all of you are still with me, because this part of the lecture sharing is a bit dry, but it is very, very crucial. It is very crucial. Whatever you do later, whether they are correct, whether they are appropriate, it all depends. They all depend on your research paradigm, your research approach, and as I said, they all depend on the nature of your research problem. Okay, let me proceed. Okay, which this is something I've already said. The paradigm you take will influence you. Okay, now we don't have time to do any exercise, but this is one of the many things I like to ask my students. If you see a situation like this, different people will come up with different answers. Okay, some people may say, oh, this happens in my class. I don't know why students don't want to sit at the front rows. Okay, some people will interpret it differently. You know, because these front rows are reserved to VIPs. Another group of people may interpret it differently. They say they prefer to sit at the second row, third row, because it is, because of the height. This is the place where they can see the whiteboard in a comfortable way. Can you see how different people can come up with different interpretation? Earlier, some people thought that these students, they are irresponsible. They don't want to sit at the front because they don't want to be picked. We blame students. But there could be another interpretation. These students, they are not irresponsible. Actually, they want to pay attention to the class. They want to learn from you, and therefore they sit at the third row with the comfortable height in order to listen to your lecture for the next 1 or 2 hours. Okay? Like I said earlier, how do you see this phenomenon? This will determine your research paradigm and your research approach. Okay? Because I don't have the answer of what is actually happening. I'm just giving you a scenario that sometimes what we think at the very beginning might be wrong. Okay? Don't rush into decision making. Spend some time, think about the phenomena again, read something, talk to your supervisor, talk to practitioners, think outside the box. Perhaps through this exercise, you will come up with a better picture, and that will allow you to understand the phenomena better. And as a result, your research, the originality, the novelty becomes much, much better. Okay, so I guess that's all I can say so far. All right, I will skip this. All right. This is what I've said already. By the way, after the seminar, I will email the slides to Dr. Sonia. If the participants request, you can always have a copy. All right. Okay, these are the things which I have basically discussed because, like I said, I don't want to treat this as a lecture. So I did not want, I don't want to go talk about every point in a formal way. But these are this is a simple explanation why positivist paradigm and non-positivist paradigm are different. Okay, and because of this, you have quantitative approach, you have qualitative approach, and also, as we discussed earlier, you also have another approach, mixed methods approach. Okay, so this is something that you have to decide at the very beginning when you carry out your research methodology. All right. If you look at, let me just take one example. If you adopt a quantitative approach, okay, all right, most likely you already have predetermined variables and measurement. Why? Because you know what your research problem is. And based on your research problem, you go to the literature. You identify the theories for your research. You identify the variables, the factors related to your research, okay? And you use all these information to develop your questionnaire, okay? This is why, if you look at the diagram, predefined variables and measurement. You predefine variables and measurement based on your literature review. This is a conceptualization process, an operationalization process. This is how you come up with your questionnaire, your survey to collect your data. Okay. Now, if something goes wrong in the process, you neglect, you overlook certain variable. If this happens, there is no other way except doing the whole thing all over again. Okay, you cannot continue with your questionnaire because you miss out on a very important variable. And that's why, again, it is something predefined variables. The measurement must be correct. Now, if you adopt a qualitative approach, it is something creative. Okay, you have extraneous variables. Why? Because apart from the reading, apart from what literature tells you, you also you conduct interview, you conduct focus group in order to collect data, and from your data you see something new, emerging themes, emerging variables and factors. Okay, so again, these two approaches are very different. It is not about superiority. Again, it is about appropriateness. Which one is more appropriate to address your research problem? Which one is more appropriate to answer your research questions? Now, in general, when we talk about quantitative approach in social science, in behavioral study, we begin with theory. Okay? If we talk about qualitative research in social science, in behavioral study, okay, we begin with observation of the phenomena. Okay, these two things are different. All right, of course, you can combine both. Okay, I always tell my friends, my colleagues, as a researcher, it is better to learn both skills. Okay, it's better to learn both skills. But when you do a quantitative study, you must have theory to support. If you do a qualitative study, make sure you have a very good observation of what is happening in the real world, because these things will become direction of your entire research. Okay? Why theory is important? Because theory gives you systematic explanation what is happening. So whenever you do a research, you need a theory to support you, to justify, to make assumption what your study is about. If you do a research in social science without theoretical support, forgive me by saying this is not a research, this is just an assignment. This can be a consultancy project. Okay, this can be a consultancy project because practitioners, maybe they are not really keen to know about theory. Maybe, I'm not sure in India. Okay, but if you think this is a scholarly work, if you think this is a research work, then whatever we claim, whatever we argue, the assumption that we make, there must be a basis. And this basis is theoretical basis. Okay, so this is why in social science, in behavioral studies, you have to have that. Okay, if not, at best, we call it an assignment. At best, we call it a report. At best, we call it a consultancy project, but it is not a research work. Okay, now when we come to qualitative research, it is the same. Even though we don't begin with theory, but there must also be theoretical grounding in the process. Okay, there must also be theoretical grounding in the process. I hope you get my points here. Okay, on one hand, you have to be clear which paradigm, which approach you need to adopt for your research. On one hand, on the other hand, as a researcher, as a scholar, it is always beneficial for us to learn both skills, quantitative skills and qualitative skills. That will give you, that will give you an upper hand to do research in the future because you are well versed in 2 or 3 approaches. All right, I think I have to continue. Let me check my time. Okay. All right, this is just another exercise, but we will skip it. But I think if you look at the picture, you know what the story is about. Okay, many times we are structured, we are told to do things the way it is designed. Nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with it. But someday someone will come up with something more efficient, something, you can call it shortcut. But this happens every day. And that's why you have innovation, disruptive technology, and India, the advancement of technology in your country, all this shows that different people look at the world with different perspectives. Okay, this is what research is about. And again, if you may go back to where I began, about curiosity. Curiosity. Can I make it better? How can I improve it? Why customers, despite being satisfied, still do not want to visit my restaurant? Why employees, after giving them good salary, they still want to leave? You see, curious. A lot of questions which require answers. Okay, so again, this curiosity prompts us to do research. Okay, I will skip this. All right, now this is the research process, as I mentioned earlier, but let's focus on this part in particular, because we are talking about research methodology. All right. All right, okay. Like I said, I'm not going to give a web lecture. So I've already shared with you why theory is important, why observation is important. Okay, you need theory, you need past literature, theories to guide your work. At the same time, you also have to exercise your observation. When these two skills combine, I believe you will be, you will grow, you will develop as a good researcher. Okay. Okay, so these are the components of theory. Again, I put it in the slide for your reference. What, how, why, who, when, who, where, when. Okay, all these questions help us to understand what is happening. Okay, and what our research intends to contribute to knowledge and also to practice. All right. Again, you have theory and reality. Okay, this is what we want to do. All right. And again, that is why, at the very beginning, I mentioned that the things that we do, research that we do, the publication that we have, yes, on one hand, it is about knowledge. It is about impact factor. But at the same time, we want our publication, we want our research work to reflect the reality, to explain the reality as much as possible. Don't be surprised, my friends. Many times, our results, our findings, they may look presentable. They may look nice. They may look, pretty because of fabrication, because of certain deliberation. Okay, yet these results, these findings have no practical meaningfulness to the population, to the community we serve. Okay, don't be surprised. This happens many, many times. Okay, this is as if the research that we do for the real world has nothing to do with the real world. Okay, the results look wonderful, yet these wonderful results are actually misleading. Why? Why? As I have been saying, and you will know more later, one of the possible reasons is because of our research methodology. Many things can go wrong. Many things can be done at the expense of rigor and robustness. Okay, let's look into all this. Okay, I will skip all this. These are the components of theory. You have dependent, independent variables, you have control variables, you have mediating variables, and you have moderating variables. Now, all these are in the textbooks. All these, you can easily find in any online resources. What I want to say is, it is important to determine what are the variables in your study. Okay, let me take one example. Control variable. Whenever we do a research, okay, in economics, there is a term called ceteris paribus. Okay, when everything is held constant. All right. Now, in reality, when we talk about human behavior, when you study a person, for example, intention to visit India as a tourist, do you think everything else would remain constant? Okay, maybe destination image is a factor, maybe price is a factor, maybe my friend's recommendation is a factor. Now, if you have these three factors in your study, do you seriously think the other factors would remain constant? Okay. In real life, whenever we make decision, so many things can potentially affect the outcome. Okay. And that is why in your research, if you neglect control variable, the result of your study may look wonderful. Actually, it may not represent the reality. Okay. Again, this is just an example. Okay. What I'm trying to say here is, you have to really, think through what are your independent variables, dependent variables, moderating, mediating, control variables, because these variables, their interaction will explain what is happening in the phenomenon you are investigating. Okay, so let me proceed. All right, you have another article for you. Again, I will share the slide when it is necessary. Okay, this is another big topic. I can only spend a few minutes. When we talk about research methodology, it is also about population and sample. You have to determine what is your target population. And when you determine your target population, then you have to determine what is your sample. All right? Now, when you determine your sample, there are two major arms. One is called probability sampling. Another one is called non-probability sampling. I think I can only say it one time, but let me say it in a very slow way. Okay. In an ideal world, probability sampling is always preferred. Why? Because when we use probability sampling, we can generalize the findings from our sample to the target population. This is why consultancy report, government project, they always prefer probability sampling, because they want the results based on your sample to be a good representation of the whole population. Please listen carefully. In the ideal world. Now, my next sentence. Unfortunately, we are not living in the ideal world. Okay? Therefore, in many cases, non-probability sampling is more appropriate than probability sampling. Okay? In the ideal world, probability sampling is always superior because it allows us to make generalization. However, when we do a social science study, when we do a study to understand behavior, we are not living in the ideal world. Okay, you look at the world around you. Do you think it is ideal? When you distribute questionnaire, do you think the respondents will do it willingly for you? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, madam, for giving me your questionnaire. I really like it. You know, I read it 2 times, 3 times. I spent half an hour to do it for you. This is my best answer. No, they won't do it. If you pass a questionnaire to me, I will laugh, I will smile, I will do it in 1 minute, and I want to get rid of the questionnaire. We are not living in the ideal situation. And because of that, in most cases, in social science, in behavioral study, non-probability sampling is actually more appropriate. Why? Because we cannot give every respondent in our target population equal chance to be sampled. Okay, when you distribute your questionnaire in India, can you ask yourself, do you really give every citizen in India equal chance to be sampled? Realistically, can you do that? You can't do that, right? If you can't do that, there is no way for you to do probability sampling. Let's forget about India. Let's just talk about MMMUT. You want to do a study at MMMUT students. You want to collect data from them to understand their satisfaction towards MMMUT. Now, when you distribute the questionnaire on Monday and Tuesday, can you seriously tell me, do you really give every student at MMMUT equal chance to be sampled? If you cannot, then there is no way for you to use probability sampling. You have to use non-probability sampling. But if Dr. Sonia, if the Honorable Vice Chancellor tell every student, Monday, Tuesday, every student must be at school. Why? Because there is a survey. I want all of you to cooperate. You go there, you distribute your questionnaire, you collect 400, then maybe. Why? Because you give every student equal chance. You need, you have the sampling frame. You have the list of students. And when you execute, the students are actually there. You give all of them equal chance. Now, again, can you see why I keep on saying it is about appropriateness? Can you see why I keep on saying things can easily go wrong? Okay, you do a study in Northern India, and based on your result, you say this is the explanation for the entire Northern India. How true it is? Okay, you have to check what did you do when you sample? Did you really give every citizens in Northern India equal chance? If not, then something is already wrong in your sampling. If this is the case, if I'm your examiner, you will be in trouble. Okay, you will be in trouble because I don't trust your findings anymore. In science, in natural science, maybe you know, if I see the results, I trust your work. Unfortunately, in social science, if I see your result, I still don't trust your work. I need to see your methodology because that process will tell me how credible your results are. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to proceed. Okay, there are a lot to talk about, especially purposive sampling. If you have to use non-probability sampling, okay, I will recommend you to consider purposive sampling. Why? Because it is about choosing, selecting the right people to give you the right data. Okay, so this is about validity. Okay, this is another paper, very interesting paper. Even though it was published in 1981, this paper has been cited many times. Okay, I show you 1981 in order to prove a point, and that is this matter has been discussed for a long time, but many of us, including myself, we have been reading selectively. For many years, I only knew sampling generalization. Until I read this paper, there is actually another thing called theory generalization. When we do our master's and our PhD, I don't say all of you, but I would say most of you, the focus actually should be on theory generalization, not really on sampling generalization. Okay, and maybe this explains in Malaysia. I only dare to say about Malaysia, but since this is recorded, so I need to be careful as well. But anyway, many studies, they have problems with this, okay? Sampling generalization. They claim that they use probability sampling. And I can see why many of these research works are not really useful to the real world. They claim they make generalization, but in actuality, there is no real generalization. Okay, okay. So just be careful with this. Right? I think I need to finish in the next few minutes because there might be questions from the floor. Okay, this is a formula, a table to calculate your sample size if you use probability sampling. Okay, this is another calculation of sample size if you use non-probability sampling. Again, these slides are not comprehensive. There are many, many more calculation methods. So what I'm doing here is to again impress you that there are different ways to calculate your sample size for if you use probability sampling or if you use non-probability sampling. Now, let me ask you one quick question. Again, this requires you to think when you do your research in the future. How big is a sample size? How big must a sample size be? Okay, is 400 a big sample size? Is 500 a big sample size? Okay, so many students, they ask me, they want to get a magic number. What is the number of a big sample size? Okay, to disappoint all of you, there is no magic number. Okay, because big or small is relative. If you collect data from 300 respondents out of 10 million respondents, this is a small sample size. If you collect data from 100 employees out of 200 employees, this is a big sample size. Even though 100 and 300, this seems to be bigger, but you must remember, these 300 are from a population of 10 million, and these 100 are from a population of 200. Okay, so how big, how small sample size, it is something relative. You have to use the right method to calculate, because if your sample size is too big or your sample size is too small, it will also affect your results. Okay, so again, I can only say so much to hopefully stimulate your interest. Okay, at this point of time, if you feel that this is too difficult, I would like to say congratulations, you are on the right path. It is normal to be challenging, but remember, I always tell my friends, my students, it must be fun. It must be interesting. Okay, challenging, yes, but this is the whole purpose, to learn, to be stimulated by curiosity, to be driven by the desire to know the truth, to help the community. Challenging, yes, but we do it with passion. Eventually, we will get the results. Okay, and we do our, we contribute something to our community. Okay, this is another paper which tells us about human behavior. Again, I have no time to explain everything, but if you look at this, so many things can potentially go wrong. Okay, you give a questionnaire to a person. If that person is not capable, he will not do it for you properly. Even if he is capable, but your questionnaire is so difficult. Okay, so many jargons, so many terminologies. Your questionnaire is not translated into the language that they can understand. They can do it. They can do it in order to get rid of you. You know, if a questionnaire requires 50 minutes to complete, and that person finishes in 1 minute, I have every reason to be worried. Okay, even though it is a completed questionnaire, but he finishes the questionnaire in 1 minute. So you guess, you know what happened, lah. Okay, okay. So can you use it? If you use it for the sake of number, it will affect your result. Okay. Now I have no time to go through all this. Another one, motivation. Okay. We talk about token of appreciation. Now you may be surprised if I tell you this. Sometimes token of appreciation works. Sometimes token of appreciation does not work. Okay. Again, the complexity of human behavior. Challenging, yes, but this is why social science, behavior research is so interesting. Okay. Okay, this is just another paper. Okay, why single source of data can induce bias. If you collect data from one source, it will induce bias. So this article tells us how to remedy, how to provide remedy to, you cannot eradicate bias. You cannot eradicate bias. Bias will always be there, but you can reduce the bias to an extent it does not have substantial effect on your result. All right. This is another interesting article. Should you use multiple items? Should you use reverse worded items? Okay. Different countries, different culture. This will also affect the result. Believe me, believe it or not. Okay. If you use the same questionnaire, you collect data in India, and you use the same questionnaire, you collect data in Malaysia, you must be careful, because even though the questionnaire is perfect, even though the scale is perfect, because of our culture, because of cultural differences, the way we understand the items in Malaysia may be different from the way you understand the questionnaire in India. Okay, so if you do a cross-border study, if you adopt a scale from a study written in the US, written in UK, you have to be very careful. Okay, and this explains why pre-testing, pilot study are very, very important. Okay, so this is part of your research methodology. Okay, this is just one example. Let me continue. Okay, again, these are different articles. I purposely screenshot all the titles so that you can decide which one you want to use. Because as I said, you are from different backgrounds. So I have papers from different backgrounds for different disciplines in order to come up with the right instrument design. Okay. So it could be interview, it could be focus group, it could be online survey, it could be observation, it could be participatory observation. None is superior. The only question is which one is more appropriate to collect valid data in order to answer your research questions. Okay, so I give you all the things that you can consider on the slide. Again, these are the things, no answer, no formula, but you need to make decision. Okay, so decision based on your research problem, your research questions, all right? Okay, this is what I said earlier, why pre-test pilot study are so important, to make sure your scale, your instrument is well prepared before you actually execute it, before you execute, all right? This is just one method. It's called cut sorting exercise. Okay, I'm almost there. Please bear with me. All right. Now, before you conduct your focus group, before you conduct your interview, or before you distribute your questionnaire, before you share your online questionnaire to your friends, again, do a proper pre-testing, do a proper pilot study. Okay, you can get your supervisors to check, you can get respondents to check. Not only you check the content, Not only you check the scale, if it is a cross-border study, you must also check the language. Let me give you one example. A few years ago, my student did a research about cultural event. She adopted a scale from I think from Australia, if I'm not mistaken. In order to measure a person's interest in joining a cultural event, there is an item. Okay, I like something unexpected. I like something unexpected. Now, for Australian, when they see the word unexpected, they understand unexpected as something adventurous. And therefore, it is something positive. Now, just imagine when my student adopted that scale, that year, I don't know if you are aware of it, that year, MH370 went missing. MH370 went missing. So when Malaysians saw the word unexpected, they interpreted unexpected as a negative word. Can you see the problem here? The same word for Australian, for Malaysian, is interpreted differently. And again, this is why pre-test, pilot study are so important. If we did not do pre-test, if I ask my student, don't worry, go ahead. This scale is adopted from Australian scholars. It should be fine. If I ask her to do that, if she did that, we know what will happen. The data that we collected would not be valid. As a result, our findings, our discussion, our conclusion will all be affected. There are only two possibilities. Number one, we cheat. We purposely ignore and we proceed. Or number two, we have to redo the whole thing. Can you see how serious it can be if we are not careful with research methodology? Okay, please forgive me if I said, if I just said, if we cheat, because to a certain degree, many times we know our research is not perfect, and therefore we purposely ignore certain things. Okay, sometimes it is okay because it does not have a serious impact on the outcome, but sometimes it can be very serious. Again, prepare, invest the time to prepare. Don't waste the time to repair. All right, I have to proceed. Data analysis, again, something that you have to be very careful. When we choose statistical tools to run analysis, it is also important to realize what the tool can do, what the tool cannot do. Okay, let me give you a quick example. Okay, this is a result run by SPSS. Amos would produce similar results. If we look at this result, p-value 0.08, 0.06, 0.08, 0.18, 0.00. If we look at this result, if we adopt confidence interval 95%, 0.05. For those who don't understand, it's okay. You just listen first. For those who understand, bear with, you just, I need to explain why. If we look at this, what would be your conclusion? You will conclude that this is not supported, right? This is not supported. This is not supported. This is supported. Why? Because these three p-values are more than 0.05. Okay, but you forget, in your hypothesis, you use one directional hypothesis. And when you use SPSS, when you use Amos, by default, the software will always produce two-tail result, not one-tail result, two-tail result. So if you have hypothesis like this, and if you have results like this, what you need to do is, you need to divide p-value by 2. This one, you need to half. This one, you need to half it. This one, you need to divide by 2. And this one, you need to divide by 2. Can you see how wrong the results are if you did not do that. Initially, you thought unsupported, unsupported, unsupported. Why? P-value more than 0.05. But when you divide these two when you divide these two values by 2, this is 0.03. This is 0.04. This is why type 1, type 2 errors can always happen. Okay? So my point here is you have to use the right tool. Don't rely on the tool. The tools are just the tools. You are the researchers. SPSS is not a researcher. You must inform SPSS what to do. You must inform AMOS what to do. You must inform Smart PLS what to do. If you feed the software with rubbish, the software will produce rubbish. Okay, so please be careful when you come to this stage. Okay, data validity, data reliability, again, something you have to be very careful. Now we have very sophisticated software to check your data validity and your data reliability. In qualitative research, there are also many ways to determine whether your data, your results are credible, dependable, or not. You cannot run away from this, okay? So again, invest your time to prepare, don't waste your time to prepare, okay? With the current advancement of statistical techniques, if your data is poor, even if your results are good, the software can still pick up and tell the reader that your data is not valid, and therefore your good results are not valid as well. All right, so these are the software that you can use. All right, so I just put it there for your future reference. Research ethics, again, when we talk about research methodology, this is always a very important thing. Make sure we make declaration, we explain it clearly for any examiners, readers, reviewers, editors. In general, they will appreciate that you declare how research ethics are observed in your research. Okay, you don't have to write long, but by doing that, you know, it gives the readers, editors the impression that, you know, you are aware of this. So this is a plus point, okay, a bonus point. Okay, I think I better stop here. These are just examples. What I want to use these articles to tell you stories about research methods, but I don't have time anymore. Okay, this is about something that I cannot finish. This is a phenomena today. This is about Sarawak. If you have never heard of Sarawak, this is where I'm from. If you have never come to Sarawak, please come, please visit. All right, a nice place, a small place compared to India, but definitely a place that you should visit one day. All right. This is another paper I do in order to help the community. Okay. In Sarawak, one of our local dishes is called Dayak food, but not many people know about it. Many people know about Malay food. Many people know about Chinese food, but actually in Sarawak, one of the main local dishes is Dayak food. I purposely wrote this article, and it is published in this journal, Journal of Ethnic Food, according to Scopus Q1. My purpose is to use this paper to promote Dayak food to the readers. I don't work for the ministry. I don't work for any restaurant, any hotel, but I thought as a scholar, at least I can do something through writing to help the community. Whether it really helps, I don't know, because I don't see dollar and cents. I hope that indirectly this intangible effort will turn into a tangible benefits for the local people. At least all of you today know about Dayak food. Again, I regard this as a success. All right. Anyway, this is another concluding remark. It's important to talk to practitioners. When we do research, yes, we need to read a lot of articles. Yes, we talk to professors. Yes, we talk to supervisors, but don't forget to talk to practitioners, okay? Because they will give us another perspective. And I believe many of you are practitioners. You do your master's, you do your PhD, at the same time, you are working adults. For me, you are doing great. Okay, we need people like you to converge, to combine these two worlds together, okay, so that we can help each other in order to make this society, the community better. All right? This is by Albert Einstein. I better stop here. All right? Again, my apology for not managing my time well. Tomorrow, there will be a forum for preparing for your thesis defense, guidance for business students. I think Dr. Sonia has the link. It is on my Facebook wall as well. Tomorrow, you can still register. It's free. If you'd like to know more about thesis defense, more than welcome. Looking forward to see all of you, some of you there. With that, thank you so much. Thank you for bearing with me. Again, my apology for not managing my time well. Back to you, Dr. Sonia.
Thank you. It has been an immense pleasure to be able to grab such a great information from an esteemed person like you, sir. And we really brush up our, you realize us that we really brush up our basic concepts of research methodology, because that is the key to enter into the high impact journal. Thank you, sir. Now it's a time for your, the most awaited moment for the participants. I request all the participants, please write down questions in the chat box. Dr. Ravi, sir, please open the chat box for the participants.
Chat box is already open. Anybody can post their question.
Yep, it's open. Dr. Sonia, would you like to select and read out a question? Or?
Yes, yes, I'm just doing it.
Okay, thank you.
So there is one question from Shamsul. He's asking, I have seen many experts asking questions to researchers like which theory methodology you applied in your thesis while conducting vivas, telling them that they haven't mentioned any way which theory they have applied.
Sorry, Dr.
Is research all about the application of theory to text?
Is research all about theory?
To text means like whenever we are trying to publish in a journal, they are asking for methodology, or they are asking for which theory you have used for creating the base for your paper. So
Correct.
Is it mandatory for a researcher to include that point in the research paper?
No, if we aim to publish our papers in top journals, in good journals, we cannot run away from theory, because as I discussed with you earlier, that as a scholar, when you make any assumption, when you develop your research framework, when you formulate your hypothesis, you must have a basis. You must have a theoretical basis for you to do that. And also, there are many journals which said it clearly at the beginning that they look into theoretical contribution. Okay, so it is important to argue at the very beginning which theories you are looking into, what are the gaps in the literature, and by doing your study in your particular context, what are the theoretical contribution that you want to make? Okay, so if I understood the question correctly, yes, it is a must, unless you are targeting journals where they also allow papers from the practitioners. They welcome case study, they welcome commentaries, then theory might not be the main concern in that case.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question is, what do you mean by multiple realities? How does it define our approach?
Okay, thank you so much. Now, when we see, for example, I want to do a study related to Starbucks. Sorry, do you have Starbucks in India?
We have, so I don't aware about it. So.
Okay, or let's say McDonald's. Okay, let's say McDonald's. Okay, so let's say McDonald's. Some people go to McDonald's because they want to eat. Some people go to McDonald's because of other reasons. So if you believe there is only single reality, what it means is when you go through the literature, for example, literature tells you people, customers revisit a restaurant because of product quality. Literature also tells you customers revisit a restaurant because of service quality. Literature also tells you customers revisit a restaurant because of experience quality. Now, if you believe product quality, service quality, experience quality, explain what is happening in McDonald's in India. Okay, this is the reality that you believe in. Okay, now you want to adopt these variables. You want to adopt these variables in your study in order to investigate how product quality, how service quality, how experience quality affect customers to revisit McDonald's in India. That's it. Single reality. But if you believe in multiple realities, yes, on one hand, you agree with what the literature tells you, but you believe there is something more. Okay? When you check your own experience, when you ask your friends, it seems that these three qualities do not explain everything. Okay? Because of that, you believe there are multiple realities. So what you do is you interview. In your interview, you realize that yes, product quality is one factor. Yes, service quality is one factor. Yes, experience quality is one factor. Now, in your interview, you realize there is another factor, which you did not realize at the beginning. And this factor is called environment quality. Okay? Many youngsters today, they go to a coffee cafe, not because of product quality, not because of service quality, because of the environment. Okay, and then they like to take selfie. See where I am? Oh, you see at the back, you know. So you believe there are something more. That is what I meant, multiple realities. I hope I respond to the question.
Yeah. So next question is, what is the difference between conceptual framework and theoretical framework?
Okay, this is a question. This is a $1 million question. There are multiple sources online, and you might find contradiction between these sources as well. I would be reluctant to contribute to this contradiction. In general, when you apply a theory, okay, some theories come with framework. Some theories do not come with framework. Okay, for example, theory of planned behavior, it comes with framework. But there are theories which come without framework. For example, social exchange theory. It comes with explanation. It does not come with framework. Theory of planned behavior, it comes with explanation and framework. Now, when you adopt theory in your study, okay, in a particular context, and in your framework, you actually adopt different variables, different concepts, okay? And this is why some people will call it conceptual framework, okay? So I want to make it clear This is according to one school of thought. Theoretical framework is the theory that comes with framework and explanation. Conceptual framework is the framework that you use theory as the underpinning basis. You conceptualize for your study. I know my explanation requires more explanation, but I thought I should just say so because there are multiple resources out there for us to further explore. My final word for this is, if I were you, I would avoid using these two terms. Just say research framework. Just say research model. That's it. Why? Because there are so many PhDs, so many good papers in top journals. They use this term without any problem. Okay, without any problem. Let us free ourselves from this argument, because at the end of the day, I don't think it achieves much purpose. My response.
Yeah. Next question, sister. Actually, this is my question. Whenever we are using standardized scale of other researchers which have conducted that research in other countries, and our supervisor always guided us to use a CFA, MOs, or smart PLS for further process, and don't use EFA because you already have the factors. You don't need to explore it. But the point is, the question and the doubt I have in my mind, that researchers have conducted their study in different countries. In India, the perspective and the situation is completely different, and the cultural barriers are completely different. So how can I take that factors as it is as, why should not go for EFA first so that I can make it as per my country?
Okay, this is another very interesting question. So Dr. Sonia comes with this question. Okay, now I cannot go into details, but in general, when you adopt a validated scale from another source and you want to use it in your study in a particular context, and the context of your study is very different from the context when this study was conducted, when this scale was developed. Okay, let's assume this is the scenario. Now, the main issue here is actually not the validity of scale. The main issue here is the comprehensibility of the scale. Okay, let me explain. Okay, because many times when we use EFA, we do it because we want to make sure the validated scale we adopt from another study, another context, is applicable in our study, in our context. It seems that we are questioning the validity of the scale. Okay, in actual fact, the main issue is not, okay, unless the scale that you adopt from the paper is a lousy paper, is a poor paper, is a poor study, then of course, we should not be citing, we should not be using that paper in the first place. But let's assume it is a good paper, validated scale. The main issue is the comprehensibility of the scale. What it means is, when you do this, when you use the scale in your target population, do our respondents understand the scale, the way the scale is intended, the way the scale is designed? If our respondents could not understand the scale, the way it is designed, if that is the case, then we have to do something about it. Okay, this is why, as I said earlier, pre-test and pilot study is very important. It's very important. All right. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the word unexpected. Okay, nothing wrong with the validity of the scale. What is wrong here is the comprehensibility of the scale. The same word cannot be understood similarly in different contexts. And therefore, what we should do before we distribute our questionnaire is to revise the scale in order to retain the meaning, but the words that we use now become understandable to the respondents in our context. This is what we call comprehensibility. Okay. Now, if you adopt scales from different sources, more than one source, you can proceed with CFA or you can still do EFA. Again, what matters here is you need to justify. You need to justify. If you adopt a scale from a source and that scale already tells you what are the factor structure of the scale, okay? You have a lot of citation from top journals telling you that you do not have to do EFA. Just proceed to CFA, because what you need to do is to confirm, okay? When you do EFA, EFA does not know theory. EFA only knows data correlation. You design your framework, you design your questionnaire based on theory. So when you collect your data, you should go to CFA straight away to test. If you use EFA before CFA, you are defeating the purpose, because EFA is run based on data correlation. It is not based on theoretical underpinning. All right. So I cannot tell you what is right, what is wrong. I'm telling you the reasons behind doing EFA or not doing EFA. The decision is still on the researchers. I hope I answered my question. The question.
Yes, thank you. The other question is, what is the method will be employed for examining impact of health outcomes?
Sorry, Dr.
Hello.
Sonia, I think I could not hear you clearly.
Sonia, your voice is not clear.
Okay. Now it's clear, sir?
Clear.
Yeah, now it's clear.
Sir, what is the method will examining impacts of COVID-19 on health outcomes?
I am afraid I could not, get the whole sentence. Probably you are using mobile data or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
What research method will be appropriate for examining impact of COVID-19?
I'm sorry to disappoint you again, Dr. Sonia. I could not get the whole sentence.
Okay.
Sonia, your voice is disconnecting. Don't use earphone.
I'm not using it, sir. Well, now it's now
Hello. Yes, Sonia. Now speak, Sonia.
Now should we proceed for sir? Dr. Hiram, sir, thank you for your great pleasure and for giving a lot of your precious time for us. Now I would like to direct the phone.
Thank you, Dr. Sonia.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry because of internet interruptions. I'm facing so many problems, but still we will do it efficiently and allow us.
No worries,
testing.
Dr. Sonia. Online technology, sometimes things happen.
Yeah. So the last question is, what research method will be appropriate for examining impact of COVID-19 on health outcomes or on environment? This is the majority time the question asked by the participants.
I wish I know the answer. I mean, if you know the answer, please let me know. there are so many studies related to COVID-19. If you do Google Scholar search, April, May, June, July, my goodness, a surge, rise of research using quantitative approach, using qualitative approach, using mixed method approach. Again, when we talk about COVID-19, the pandemic crisis, what is the research problem that you want to investigate? Because you cannot do everything. You cannot investigate everything. You have to determine at the very beginning, what is the issue that you want to investigate? And based on that issue, can you formulate a feasible research problem? And from there, you will be able to decide which approach, which methods will be more appropriate. So again, my apology, I cannot give you answer, rather a response that research methodology will very much depend on the issue that you want to investigate and the research problem you wish to formulate. Okay, just a quick example. My friend conducted a study about hand washing. She is from the medical field. In this situation, it is, in general, it is quite obvious that questionnaire might not be useful, because when you ask a person whether he washes his hand, some people will lie that, you know, because he doesn't want to make himself look bad. In this situation, maybe a qualitative research is better. Using experimental design, maybe observation is much better. And when you observe, maybe you should not be there. It should not be a participatory observation, because if you observe and you put on uniform, the Ministry of Health, people will behave differently because of your presence. So you may have to use CCTV. That's why, like I said, it is challenging, but it is very interesting. The way we carry out our research, we have to reduce potential bias in order to get valid data. So in terms of hand washing, again, when you think about the potential bias problems, how can we collect valid data? All these will allow us to reconsider our research design and our research methodology. Read more and also talk to the practitioners. I believe as researchers ourselves, we should also be the best critics of our own work.
Thank you, sir. And because of the time limit, it has been a great pleasure to have a part of your precious time for us. We are grateful with gratitude, sir, to have a fraction of your vast knowledge, and we will cherish it forever. Now, I would like to have the honor of calling upon Dr. Sudhir Narayan Singh, sir, for vote of thanks. Sudhir, sir.
Dr. Sunil, audio is still muted.
Good afternoon and welcome from the Department of Humanities and Management Science. We are happy to host you at our department, and Namaskar from India. And here we are privileged to have the gracious session of Professor It's an honor for me to have a guest speaker like you for our platform. And at the same time, I would like to say thanks and express my gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, And above all, I am thankful to all the participants who graced the occasion. Fundamentals of research, when we start talking in any technical setup, normally it is assumed that normally an experiment and experience where we need to collaborate, and when we are going to assess human behavior for
Sir, whether voice is clear?
your talk becomes more relevant. And that way, I'm also thankful to all faculty members of the department who keep organizing such talks with great enthusiasm. Thank you, sir. Thank you, dear friend, for being with us as friend and fellow.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, voice is there. Yes, sir.
It's because of certain technical problem. I am getting off and on because of poor bandwidth issues. I hope that you all will be cordial to bear with us. It began with the beginning, but sometime when we are hosting a guest from distant places, such problems occur.
Yeah.
So we must be mentally prepared for this. Thank you all for being with us. It's a huge opportunity and we will look forward for future such collaborations. You are always invited to our department forum, and even we will see that what else can we do at our university level, because our Honorable Vice Chancellor is always generous. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Namaskar
Namaskar.
from India. It's over to Sonia, Dr. Sonia.
Hello, sir. With this, we are ending towards the session. So thank you very much, sir, for
you.
joining us. Bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, one and
Thank
all.
you.
We'll share all the detail on the emails, PPTs, and other thing will be shared to all the participants. Thank you, one and all.